Radical Radio Collective.
Good afternoon, listeners. You're tuned in to 4ZZZ 102.1 FM. This is Eco Radio, Australia's longest running peace and environment radio show, probably.
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
Yeah, I also like to think so. We are taking over your middle of the day, middle of the week, start of the month airwaves, almost a week in. My name is Dave. My pronouns are he, him.
And I'm Andy, and my pronouns are he, him.
And I want to start off by acknowledging and paying my respects to the custodians on the country in which we broadcast. We're located in the city of Mungingin on Turrbal Yuggera land. I also want to acknowledge and pay my respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are listening in today. Our radio waves reach Cubby Cubby and Yinambara country in the north, Waka Waka country in the west. In the east, we pay our respects to the Quandamooka people, and down south we reach the Commonwealth, Nagarrawal, Munjali, Wunjarrabara, Yugambeh and Bunjalung countries. A bit later in the show, we might be talking about some Aboriginal country, wetlands, and how people are taking it back. But I want to say thank you to No Idea for all their great ideas. I didn't know that this is a question that I should be asking myself, but would I rather be a seal or a dolphin?
Good question.
Isn't it?
After, what was it, that the poor old seals have to go up on the land to digest their food?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that does mean that you get to have a big old rest.
Yeah. A bit like after the Christmas lunch, I guess. You've got to have a bit of a lie down afterwards.
Yeah. I think I'm picking seal. I feel like I would enjoy that a bit more.
Yeah, I think I have to go with seal as well. You know, one of my kids hates dolphins. So.
Hates dolphins?
Yeah.
That's harsh.
Says they're the bastards of the sea, basically.
The bastards. Oh, my God. Oh, we'll have to explore that further at some point. Maybe get Peter on the show, our friendly neighbourhood marine scientist, to dig into that.
Yes. So that's not an eco radio concept. That's my child's perspective.
Well, today on the program, we are talking about what happened to the Global Sumud Flotilla. The flotilla was intercepted by Israel's Navy in international waters on their way back. On their way to take aid to the people of Gaza. Included in the flotilla of activists were 6 Australians. So we'll be talking to Northern Rivers Friends of Palestine member Jess Mamone about the Australians that went across and why it was important for them to risk the journey. So that will be coming up in about 7 minutes. But before that, I think we should go to a couple of songs to get you in the mood for that chat. This one is Genocide Cake by Jesse Wells. You're listening to 4ZZZ. This is Eco Radio.
Paradigm Shift's podcast is available online and via your favourite podcasting app, challenging the assumptions of our current society to investigate alternative ways of living for a world based on justice, solidarity, and sustainability. Tune in to the Paradigm Shift podcast. Just search The Paradigm Shift, 4ZZZ.
Welcome back. You're on 4ZZZ. This is Eco Radio. My name is Dave.
And I'm Andy.
And we just heard then from Jesse Wells with Genocide Cake, and after that it was Rafif Ziada with Sieges. That's because on the line right now we're talking to a member of Northern Rivers Friends of Palestine, Jessica Mamone. Jess, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Dave.
So over 20 boats with 185 people, 6 of those people were Australians, have been intercepted on their way to give aid in Gaza. Those people were Zach Schofield, Ethan Floyd, who's returned to Australia now, Neve O'Connor, Surya McEwen, Cameron Tribe and Dr. Bianca Webb-Pullman. Can you tell us what has happened to the flotilla?
Yep. So the flotilla is a civil society-led maritime initiative. It's essentially sailing humanitarian aid, food, baby formula and medical supplies to Gaza. The participants are from 39 different countries. And as you said, we've got a number of Australians on board. It is not a new strategy and it is completely illegal, unlike the Israeli naval blockade, which the ICJ deems unreservedly illegal under international law. After setting sail a couple of days earlier, on April 30th, the flotilla was in international waters between Greece and Italy, so roughly 1,000 kilometres from Gaza. Israeli drones and warships surrounded the fleet, communications were jammed, and the IDF used armed raiding parties to board 22 ships, whilst 47 managed to avoid interception and continue sailing. For the boats that were boarded, participants relied on their training, they remained calm, non-violent, and supported each other under extremely stressful conditions. We are so proud of these people. Despite having zero jurisdiction, Israel committed state-sanctioned piracy and kidnapped 175 humanitarians, including the 6 Australians that you just mentioned. There was numerous reports of physical assault. They were beaten, grabbed by the hair, forced into stress positions, punched multiple times. One young woman was punched in the ribs approximately 10 times and required hospital treatment. They were beaten with rifle butts and batons, kicked repeatedly in the testicles. There was also rubber bullet injuries, so shot at point-blank range, causing concussions and broken ribs. Likewise, true to the term piracy, there was much property destruction as well. So possessions were stolen or thrown into the ocean, boats were sunk, engines were tampered with, and sails were cut.
Yeah, so I understand a lot of the participants in the flotilla are currently in Crete and in hospital there, right?
All of our Australians are now out of hospital, but they did undergo a pretty grueling 36 hours. They were on an Israeli military naval vessel, a makeshift detention facility. But talking to every single one of them, they'll note that whilst they were scared and banged up, they know their treatment can never compare to how the IDF is treating Palestinian hostages on land. They know too well of the many reports of extreme torture and systemic rape to deaths that have occurred. So they remain pretty staunch in their motivations. But they were then, after that time period, escorted by the Greek Coast Guards, dropped off with no belongings, no transport arranged, no assistance, whilst their boats remained seized. 2 organisers have faced a far worse fate. Tiago Avila faced repeated interrogations lasting up to 8 hours and was explicitly threatened that he would be killed and spend 100 years in jail. Saif Abu Kashek was kept handcuffed and blindfolded face down on the floor for the entire journey back to Israel. Numerous eyewitnesses have reported his screams echoing throughout the ship. I want to note that Saif had never planned on going to Gaza. With a Palestinian heritage, that would have been far too dangerous. He was always planning on deboarding beforehand. So Israel boarded, beat, kidnapped, and is now indefinitely detaining a man who is never even heading to Gaza on secret evidence with no charges in a country he was never sailing toward. Both are being held in isolation in Shikma detention facility without charge and have since gone on a hunger strike.
Right, so was the flotilla planning to go to Gaza in this stretch of their journey, or were they planning to stop in, say, Crete or another island before?
Not Crete specifically, but they were planning on making stops, and there were participants that were planning on deboarding and potentially new people getting on.
Right, so that sounds like Israel boarded ships or boats, that weren't planning to go directly to Gaza then?
Not directly, absolutely.
So what has our government said about the boarding of aid boats in international waters?
In the short answer is a lot of nothing. So while Spain, Italy, Germany and Turkey have condemned Israel's action, Australia has been completely silent. DFAT offered consular assistance in Greece but was largely unhelpful. DFAT repeatedly urged Australians to not join others seeking to break the blockade, essentially distancing itself from its own citizens who had been assaulted in international waters.
Yeah. That's probably pretty in line with our current government. Israel's Foreign Minister, Gideon Sayar, tweeted, "We call on anyone who is not interested in provocations but rather in humanitarian aid to Gaza to do so through the Board of Peace." The Board of Peace being the Trump-led, I don't know what you call it, Trump United Nations or something?
Yeah. Right.
Why would people be going on the flotilla to get aid to Gaza instead of going through the Board of Peace?
Now, that is probably the most important question. So Israel has systematically shut down independent humanitarian actors. They've blocked the main UN agency and placed a naval blockade on Gaza. Then they've pointed to this US-led political body, ironically named the Board of Peace, as the legitimate channel. The Board of Peace includes Israel as a participant. It has no Palestinian members, and its committee hasn't even entered Gaza. It essentially says, don't bring aid independently, bring it through us. That's not a humanitarian solution. It's a demand for control over the aid pipeline. And the main tool for rejection in regards to AIM is labelling items as dual use. So the absurd examples are that entire truckloads are being denied because it also included sleeping bags that were the colour green, or included sleeping bags that had zips, or entire trucks of sanitary pads were refused because the kit also included a nail clipper.
Wait.
Medical equipment.
So they're saying these things have dual use, as in what, the colour green can be used as camouflage?
Exactly, yeah.
And nail clippers can be used
as a weapon.
Right.
Also, when it comes to medical equipment, they're being turned back for containing scissors, pain medication, or anaesthetics. So, totally absurd. And as a result, we see enormous amounts of life-saving aid sit and rot in warehouses. Every participant that is on the flotilla knows they are putting their lives on the line. They're risking injury, death and time away from their families. But they do this because every other democratic means has been exhausted. So to quote Zoe Rogers from the Filton Six, demonstrations, fundraisers, encampments, petitions, writing to MPs, stickers, Amnesty International vigils, armed factory pickets, the list goes on. We've done this. None of it has worked. So the flotilla represents a complete and utter failure of governments around the world and civilians refusing to allow their humanity to be lost.
Yeah. So will the remaining vessels in the flotilla make their another journey to break the blockade?
Everyone involved is determined to continue this mission against apartheid in one way or another. Currently, the plans are that we will be willing to sail.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jess, for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for platforming this issue.
Yeah, is there anything else you want to leave our listeners with?
Well, yes, actually, because around the world there has been protest as a response to this particular interception. And so we're seeing ports being blocked and a number of direct actions being prompted around the world. And that is incredibly important. That we still use this as a moment to mobilise and to act, particularly if our governments are refusing to do so.
Is there any way to get messages of support to the flotilla?
Yeah, I've passed numerous messages on. I'm the primary support person for Surrey McEwen. If you send a message to his Instagram, I will definitely pass that along to him. I'm also in direct contact with all of the family members, and they're passing on all the messages to the participants that have either come back, like Ethan, or plan on continuing the work overseas.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Jess. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you, guys. Have a lovely day.
You too. That was
Bye.
Jess Mamone, member of the Northern Rivers Friends of Palestine. Let's go to a song now. We're going to need a language warning, but this one might ramp you up. This This is Dirty Linen with Leave Me Alone. You're listening to 4ZZZ. This is Eco Radio.
They tried to bury me. They didn't realize I was a seed.
You're listening to Eco Radio, the radio of the future.
You are listening to Eco Radio, the radio of the future. Thank you, small child. And we just heard then, at the top of that bracket, a couple of songs. We heard Dirty Linen with Leave Me Alone, a very hard, sweary song.
I like it.
And I juxtaposed it with Signet, which is a baby swan, with their song Whatever You Want. Those are what I want. I want juxtaposing songs to sort of snap you into reality.
Yeah, definitely. Especially getting the Dirty Linen out.
Yeah. That always snaps me into reality. We got some texts during our conversation with Jess Mamone about the Global Sumud Flotilla taking aid to the
Palestine.
starving people in Gaza. Someone texted in, a non-sub very bravely texted in saying solidarity and peace for Ukraine and Sudan, exclamation mark. Absolutely, free Sudan, free Ukraine. Then said, please provide details of the humanitarian ships on the way to Sudan and the Ukraine. Absolutely. So the ships going to Sudan are from Turkey and Qatar. They provide aid for the Sudanese people in their civil war. And Ukraine actually doesn't get food aid. What they get is military aid. So Australia sends over things like ribs, rigid hull inflatable boats, or Abram tanks.
Or Bushmasters.
Yeah, so they send over military aid. There is a famine in Gaza. That's why people are trying to block break the blockade there, because Israel has control of Palestine's borders and is not allowing aid to enter, as we talked to Jess about that. If you want to learn more, the internet is your friend. We also got a text in from Marky, a long-time texter in Noel.
Yep.
I love hearing what Marky's up to these days.
Yeah, where is he this week?
So he's in my neck of the woods, out at Oxley.
Okay.
Yeah, which the reserve these at is a very nice reserve. It has a lot going for it. It hasn't been touched for a long time, but they're eventually getting in there. They're preserving the Gossia goniculata. Do you know about the Gossia goniculata, Andy?
Yes, it's one of the listed Gossias. So Gossia is related to the eucalypts, so in that the myrtles family. Mm-hmm. Is it the angled stem myrtle or something?
Yeah, something name? Like that, yeah.
So very restricted distribution. Of course, like some of the other myrtaceae things is subjected to myrtle rust. Very important that we keep monitoring populations of Gossia and make sure that we're trying to keep it the best chances of existence as we can.
Yeah, because I think it got down to a number something like 15 or something in the wild. It was so low. But Marky says he doesn't know why, but it's still intensely hot in the bush, and he needs winter to come in.
Okay.
Super soon. Working out in the bush. Yeah, it gets super hot. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't stand it. So hats off to you, Marky, for standing it still even if it is getting a little bit cooler, but not cool enough.
Yeah, and we've had all this rain as well, so the humidity's up as well.
Yeah,
so,
that's it. Yeah, hanging around the lower parts of the creek and stuff. Yeah, you will get humid. Well, I actually wanted to talk a bit about, there was some news in the ABC recently about how salt water is restoring life to parts of Queensland on the coast.
Yeah.
So farmers have actually, farmers and restorers, regenerators, Aboriginal councils and conservation groups have been knocking down, what were they called?
There's, were they the tidal control mechanism or bund walls?
Yeah, bund walls. Yeah. So they were set up to stop the saltwater tidal waters from coming onto the land, to give pastoralists and farmers more land to graze cattle and things.
Yeah, that's right.
But that also destroyed the wetland habitat.
Yep. So, they're trying to stop the tidal influence on those samphire areas and the marine cooch areas.
Spirobolus,
yeah.
One of my favourite species names.
Yeah, and I guess the rationale was to try and increase the pasture for cattle and grazing animals in those areas. But that, just totally ignores the fact that the heavily saline soils that are there as well. So I think what happened was that a lot of those areas just turned into these inhospitable salt pans with nothing growing on them.
Yeah, which is really interesting, right? So they were like, oh, this will give us more land, not understanding that the land actually has adapted to that salt water.
Yeah, exactly.
To flourish.
Yep.
And then they go, oh, well, our introduced grasses will take over eventually. But sometimes they never did.
No, that's right. So, again, highly saline environments, probably more so than the salt water, because, they got that periodic inundation, and then the high saline concentration was just increased, through evaporation and things like that. So highly specialised flora that's evolved in those intertidal areas. The samphires, a lot of the chenopods.
Chenopods.
Yeah.
Can you explain chenopods to me? I don't know that one.
Okay, chenopods. It's in a family called Chenopodiaceae. So they have this succulence to them, and they seem to be quite well adapted to saline areas, whether that's coastal saline areas or inland saline areas.
You're talking about pig faces.
No, that's in a different family.
Oh, is it? Oh, right.
So these are more the burrs and things like that. Sorry, I can't think of any common names, but sclerulinas and things like that.
Okay.
So, but if you've worked in those close to the intertidal areas, you might come across some of those really succulent type fleshy plants that some
they turn
blue bushes.
They turn
like
red
that. And purpley blue bushes. So that's one of the chenopods. So evolved to occupy those saline areas, as well as Spirobolus virginicus, the saltwater cooch, which you've mentioned before. So, and then I don't know, like it's that whole thing about humans thinking they know best about nature, thinking that we can control nature. Exclude the tidal influence, and what happens? They're getting these large areas of salt pans and degraded areas, and that story from the ABC that you mentioned is just fantastic. And I just want to quote from the landholder who's actually knocked down his bund walls, and he basically said, and I quote, "I stole from nature by using all of my cows, and now it's time to give the land back and let nature do its thing." So what he's done is knock down those tidal gates and those bund walls and get the tidal influence coming back in, and seeing the reintroduction of both flora and fauna onto those sites. Barramundi coming onto his property now. And things like that.
I found that really interesting because we say on the show everything's connected, right?
Yep.
And if you took away those salt marshes or those wetlands, you're actually then in influencing the life cycle of coastal fish that use those inlets and wetlands for spawning young and for their young to grow up in protected areas.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And,
so all the fishermen off the coast there are going, oh, well, where's the fish? It's like you took away spawning areas.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And, this landholder is based up around Mackay, which has seen a bit of a urban expansion around the city of Mackay. But, it's not a localised thing. This has happened in a lot of those coastal wetlands, like Kelly Valley wetlands near Aber Point, north of Bowen. Has a lot of tidal gates and bund walls there controlling the tidal influence into a massive wetland area that's behind the bund walls there. So, yep.
And if anyone is wondering what a salt marsh looks like, you can actually go to one here in Brisbane, or you're going to go to a few actually, but one in particular, the salt marsh at Norman Park, just behind Norman Park Bowls Club.
Oh, yeah.
A lovely little setup. Has been, threatened with development and stuff like that, but it's still got, quite a lush paddock, I guess, maybe not paddock, field of Sporobulus and pig faces and
And you made a great point earlier off air about humans seeing that these areas were a bit of a wasteland, and so we used it to dump like car bodies, shopping trolleys, refuse, anything like that.
Dirty fill and stuff.
Yeah.
We used wetlands. It was actually an act in, I think it might have been the 1901s or whatever, right? But it was the wetland, the Wasteland Act, which basically said that these areas that were wetlands and things, they can be for Aboriginal people and tips.
Right.
And they started filling in all of these places so that they could develop them later.
Yep.
But the wetland didn't agree. A lot of them are still, quite difficult to develop, or, they were culturally significant, and people have been able to take them back for their country.
Yeah, well, exactly. The Indigenous peoples knew how productive those areas were in terms of food sources, crabs, barramundi, mollusks, things like that have occupied those areas.
Yeah, mangrove worms was a big one.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if we've still got mangrove worms in Brisbane River and creeks. We probably do, but I wouldn't eat them. But they were a staple for Aboriginal communities in and amongst the creeks and tidal areas. Yep. What they would do they would set up logs that they've gathered and set them up so that the tide would rise and fall on the logs. And then about 1 year later, they would come back, crack the logs open. They would be infested with shipworms.
Wow.
Shipworms are mangrove worms. And, then that would be a feast.
Yeah.
A type of aquaculture, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic, isn't it? I guess the other thing we haven't mentioned is acid sulfate soils. These incredibly, not dangerous, but very chemical soils that have developed in those areas under, anaerobic conditions that once they get exposed to air become really quite acidic. And so would exclude a lot of plants growing on them if they're disturbed and things like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so you couldn't necessarily plant into them even if you did take away the water.
Possibly, but yeah, the big danger is the mass disturbance of those soils and exposing a lot of it to air, and then them becoming incredibly acidic. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh, it's fascinating. Thanks for explaining everything to me, Andy. I'm a bit of a layman at the best of times, so
no, that's fine. Like wetlands, I probably I don't get in there too often because, my stick's the mosses. So probably don't find a lot of mosses there. But
you don't find a lot of moss in tidal areas?
No.
There's no salt moss adaptations?
Yeah, they don't like the salt water, so you tend not to find them. Come a little bit away from the coast, like those coastal heathlands, certainly you find things like sphagnum growing in those areas. But with the salt water, there's not much in the way of mosses that grow near there.
Yeah, right.
4ZZ's Radio Reversal has gone digital. Since 2012, the collective have been building a record of radio theorising, organising, mistake-making, rethinking and community building that happens across this city. So, if 1 hour a week isn't enough for you, head to radioreversal.substack.com to learn more about the Radio Reversal podcast, or listen to the full episodes via your favourite podcasting app.
Welcome back. You're on 4ZZZ. This is Eco Radio. We just played then at the top of the bracket was Kneecap and K Tempest with their new song Irish Goodbye. And after that it was The Kind Hills with a short one called Seaside. That's pretty much all we've got for today's show. Andy, can you think of anything else that we might have forgotten?
Oh, we haven't done the Bushcare Roundup yet.
The Bushcare Roundup, of course. All right, let's crack into that. This is our collation of events, environmental events and peace events that are happening around southeast Queensland you can get involved with. And the jingle goes a little something like this.
It's the Bushcare Roundup. They've been pulling out weeds and then they put in trees. It's the Bushcare Roundup.
All right, kicking everything off on Friday the 8th of May at 8 o'clock in the AM. You can go to the Norman Creek Catchment Coordinating Committee nursery session. So that's their little native nursery there. You can go get involved and learn how to germinate native plants and, propagate some tree friends. That's at 66 Barron Street in Greenslopes.
And on Saturday the 9th from 8 o'clock, you can go to the Ocean Crusaders Bremer River Cleanup at Noel Kelly Drive in Goodna. Also at 8 o'clock, Growing Forward at Dutton Park Commons Farm Working Bee at 381 Gladstone Road, Dutton Park. 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, Save Victoria Park Streetside Gathering. It's on the corner of Gilchrist Avenue and Herston Road, Brisbane. At 2:30, there's the Barrambin Wild Art Experiment on Ibis Island at Barrambin or Victoria Park. And at 2:30, Oxley Tree Planting at 21 Will Powell Street, Oxley.
And Sunday, the 10th of May, at 8 o'clock, you can go to the Hilda Street Bushcare Group Working Bee. That's the corner of Hilda and Devaney Street in Corinda. At 8:30, you can also go to the Caring for Your Creek Working Bee. That's at 32 Sheep Camp Road in Mount Crosby.
We've also got Tuesday the 12th at 7 a.m. You can join the Friends of Oxley Creek Common on the Tuesday Carers Oxley Creek Common at Sherwood. It's a fantastic little area, that Oxley Creek Common.
It is, and they've been doing such great work there for years. I've talked to Mary Lou in the past. They do the Tuesday Common Carers there every week. So every Tuesday morning at 7 o'clock, get up early, go to the Oxley Creek Common, meet Mary Lou. She's wonderful. It's a great time. You go out there, you do a bit of weeding, you might do a bit of planting, and it's a really nice walk.
It is.
And they've got a whole bunch of little brown quails.
Yep.
So these funny little things that just scamper between bushes and bushes.
They're the things that scare the hell out of me the most when you're walking through a bit of a grassland and then they all of a sudden just flush out. And usually get quite a loud noise and
Yeah, and they're just funny looking. these little brown fluffs that go in between the grasses.
Yeah, and I don't know about Professor Hugh Possingham. He's done bird surveys at the Oxley Common for years.
Absolutely.
Quite regular. So he's got a pretty large list of birds sighted from the common area.
Yeah, Professor Hugh Possingham is an avid birder and former Queensland chief scientist.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I've talked to him before. About the birds. He was actually pretty upset after the flood because all the ground nesting birds got washed away.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you go out there and see the how far down Oxley Creek is from the level playing field of Oxley Common, you go, wow, that's a lot of water that went through there in those floods.
Yeah, and then you can look up, there are some trees that have still got debris in them.
Yeah.
It must be, 15 metres above your head.
Yep.
There's still like oil drums up the trees, and there's statues or totems, I guess. They're big poles at the front of Oxley Common that have got wavy lines at the top. If you look up those wavy lines, you'll realise that's where the floodwaters rose to, particularly in 1974, which I think is our highest flood, but not our strongest flood.
Oh, okay.
So you can have a high flood and it be like a slow rise.
Right.
But our strongest flood, I think, might have been one of the recent ones, maybe 2010 or 11 or whatever it was. And that was the one with the most velocity.
Yep. But the Oxley Common group there, over the years I've seen how they've established plants on the banks of Oxley Creek there, and it's looking really great.
Yeah.
So that's really important for water quality, making sure that it's stabilising the banks so that it's not getting eroded away and things like that.
And you can tell that it's doing good by all the bird life.
Yeah, exactly.
Birds are a fantastic indicator for the health of an ecosystem.
Yep.
They've got a lot there. If you're into birding, I recommend the Oxley Creek Common. Absolutely. That's all that we've got for you. If you like what we do here on 4ZZZ or specifically here on Eco Radio, please think about becoming a subscriber. Where it costs something between $80 and $90 to keep an hour to keep this radio station on the air. We run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're all volunteers here, just trying to put out good community radio for the community, by the community. So if that's right up your cul-de-sac, please go to 4zzz.org.au/support and become a subscriber for as little as $40 for a concession subscriber. You get a card. We don't check IDs, so we're not the cops. That gets you sub-discount outlets, discounts at places like Reverse Garbage. If you go down there, tell them Dave sent you. They'll give you a high five, maybe.
Yeah. They won't send you out the door.
They won't. So let's go out with a song. This is Northern Lights with Dope Fiend. You've been listening to 4ZZZ. This is Eco Radio.
4ZZZ. Eco Radio. Radical Radio Collective.
4ZZZ.